Hello everyone, today we are going to be going into part 2 of my new theory series. Today we are going to be looking into the villain behind My Singing Monsters. Now it's important for you to go and watch the first part if you haven't done already, or else you won't understand what I'm going on about at all. So today's one is jam-packed, guys. There's a lot of points discussed, so it may be the case that you may need to rewind the video at some points just to keep up. Now let's look at how to make the Colossals wake up more in depth now that we have all come to the realization that the natural islands and Firehaven and potentially the other Colossals, depending on what the lore behind them is, as we don't know if they were impacted in a similar way to the other islands, could be returned to their former state through returning their life force and singing abilities. Now that we have come to the realization also that the villain behind the disruptive force is required to be found in order for the Colossal to be revived, we can delve into this aspect further. So first of all, we must look at where the villain behind the disruptive force actually is. If we can locate the villain behind the disruptive force, the monsters should be able to ask it to revive the Colossal. So how do we find something and theorize on something that we don't have a clue about? Well, there may actually be more going on than what you guys may expect in terms of the lore behind the game. If you consider how the villain behind the disruptive force hasn't been seen across all of the games and how there has been no mention of it, then it becomes quite evident that the villain behind the disruptive force isn't actually a part of the monster world as we know it. This theory that the villain isn't in the monster world is also shown from the fact that all the Colossals remain dormant. Surely if this thing was able to be reached by the monsters in the game, the monsters would all try to contact it, to try and rescue their fellow Colossals that literally sacrificed their lives to save all of the monsters. The Colossals did die in saving the monsters really, so it would only make sense for the monsters to return the favour, wouldn't it, if you think about it? Some monsters may have been aware of the villain's existence during the era of Dawn of Fire, as we are about to go into. As shown with the Tribal Island trailer, all the monsters have forgotten about everything about their time in the Golden Age and the Dawn of Fire era. The fact that the monsters all forgot about everything to do with their time during the era of Dawn of Fire indicates once again here that something else is at play here. I mean, the monsters wouldn't just forget about their past, would they? They literally forgot about everything to do with the continent and its splitting, and Kena even forgot about their fellow fire hybrids living inside the living core all that time. We know this as Kena is shown to remember the fire elementals in the Firehaven trailer and to have forgotten about them. It's almost like the villain behind the disruptive force may have also affected the monsters' memories, as it appears as though the monsters are only able to remember things that happened after the villain behind the disruptive force caused all the chaos it caused with the continent splitting and all. You could argue that the villain supposedly outside the monster world may exist inside the monster world when you consider how vast the monster world is, and how the monsters all had their memories wiped clean of everything that happened in the Golden Era, resulting in them perhaps not knowing where it is. But when you consider the amount of force this thing has and there being no sign of this villain, it's all but certain that this villain is not a part of the monster world. I mean, it caused the continent to split, caused the Colossals to essentially die, with them having to give up their life force, and took away the Colossals' singing abilities. If you consider that the villain may have planned all that out as well, it shows the amount of power that this thing has. Even if some of you do think that the villain is in the monster world, you have to wonder why it's been hidden away for so long in the monster world and not caused a disturbance. I honestly don't know what to say if you do believe that this villain that caused all the events we've been over would just be able to hide itself away all this time. It's clear that this monster has much more power than anything, absolutely anything, we have seen in the game, and would absolutely not restrain its power over such a long period. We are dealing with the villain behind the game here, guys. The events the villain caused and their power were absolutely devastating for the monster world. Going from the amount of power this villain has, it's likely they knew what they were doing when they caused the Colossals to forget how to sing and the consequences behind it, which is what makes them a villain-like monster. Anyway, apologies for branching out into all sorts of topics there, like the monster's memories and things. We will get back to these points made here in a moment. However, let's return to looking into where this villain is, now that we know that the villain is located somewhere outside of the monster world. There is reference to only one world existing within My Singing Monsters that we do not know about, and there is only one species of monsters from the Golden Era during the Dawn of Fire age that are known to be able to communicate with the villain from the other world, as we're about to get into. If you're unsure what I mean when I say another world, I mean as in another world to the monster world. With our solar system, the Milky Way solar system, for example, there is different planets inside of our solar system. Planets inside of our solar system include planets like Earth, Saturn, and Uranus. This must be the same case with the Monster World, for example, as the Monster World must exist within a galaxy like the Earth does, with all sorts of planets likely existing inside of the galaxy in the game that we just do not know about. Of course, it is highly likely that there is other worlds out there besides the Monster World and the one we're going to get into, which is where the villain must be. However, no others are mentioned besides this one that comes up repeatedly in the lore where the villain is, and of course, the Monster World. Anyway, enough speaking about the other world the villain comes from. Let's actually look into the evidence in the game for the world that the villain comes from. Now we know it must be from another world because of its absence from the Monster World. According to the Celestial Island description, another world exists that coincides with the Monster World as it makes reference to the cosmic energies beyond. This serves as evidence towards there being something beyond the Monster World that we don't know about. These cosmic energies must have been coming from somewhere, so let's call the world we are looking at the Cosmic Realm, as this energy must have come from here or somewhere in space alongside the Monster World, as these cosmic energies must have been sourced from a cosmic world outside in space within the My Singing Monsters multiverse. However, going even further than that, according to the description of Starhenge, it is stated that Starhenge was situated as the nexus point between the cosmic energies of the constellations and the Monster World below, when it existed during the golden era of the Dawn of Fire age, revealing that Starhenge was between the cosmic energies and the Monster World. This other world the cosmic energies are being sourced from must be the one that the villain comes from, right? Well, I would also just like to point out that in both descriptions, cosmic energy is mentioned. Keep energy being mentioned to be coming from the cosmic world in mind for later, as this also links to a topic we're going to come on to later. Anyway, back to the question. You may be questioning why exactly I believe there is indeed another world above Starhenge, as whilst there is reference to cosmic energies of the constellations in Starhenge's description, this could just be talking about the energies of constellations. After all, we don't know how constellations work in My Singing Monsters lore exactly, but if you look in Starhenge's description, it says that the Celestials were luminous beings descended from the stars to share their music for all to hear, and these monsters must have come from somewhere, therefore confirming that indeed another world exists above Starhenge that the Celestials must have come from. Sure, the lore does point out how some Celestials came into existence and were born, as we're going to get into, but it doesn't describe how Galvana was born or where they came from in particular. They must have come from somewhere, as it's revealed in the description that they came from the stars, so Galvana must have come from somewhere else up in space, from Starhenge and the Monster World. Galvana's origin is a really interesting aspect of the lore to look into, and Galvana is key towards us understanding the realm behind where the villain is from. The energy from the constellations must also be coming from somewhere, even if the constellations are the things coming out with the energy. As we all know, constellations just don't produce energy randomly. The Monster World is known to share similarities to our world, and it is even in the lore that the Monster World exists alongside our world, with the seam in the Monster World being the point between our world and the Monster World. So it's doubtful that the constellations would just produce energy randomly without a source of energy to actually have. Going from the fact that something must be providing cosmic energy in space away from Starhenge, which Starhenge is half the distance to, as it is located halfway between the Monster World and where the cosmic energy is coming from, I think it's important for us to actually look into Starhenge and what happened to the Celestials. They seem like our best bet from what we've looked at up to now at making contact with the villain from the Cosmic Realm, because of some coming from the Cosmic Realm itself, or perhaps just even Galvana. And with Starhenge being the only island actually known to be up in space in the Monster World. Also, I know I haven't detailed how the villain links to this world yet specifically, but the reason the villain links to the world where the source behind the cosmic energies must be coming from is because of how, quite simply, there is nowhere else for it to have come from. The villain must have come from somewhere outside of the Monster World, as we have been over due to its immense power, meaning that therefore the villain must have come from the other world that is spoken about in the lore with the Celestials and Stonehenge. It could have come from another world not discussed in the game at all. However, the world that it came from must have been known about by the monsters, as it did cause all the chaos in the first place, and must have been known about because of the Celestials descending from down there as well. So that is why it must have come from the other world spoken about in the game's lore. If you consider the origins of some of the monsters that we are going to speak about, like Galvana, it becomes clear that this realm must have been known about by some monsters too. So it makes sense why this realm is mentioned across the lore, other than random worlds that literally have no relevance to the lore of the game. So Stonehenge, despite it not being detailed in the game, has been confirmed to have been powered by the continent and the continent's energy during the Golden Age of Dawn of Fire by the monster handlers during the Extra Life livestream. When the continent split, Stonehenge ran on backup power until it ran out of energy and fell, and then became Celestial Island. We also know that the Celestials are said to be the guiding spirits over the monster world. Each Celestial represents an element on Stonehenge and watches over and allows each elemental to be what they are. There are also specific Celestial descriptions in Dawn of Fire that hint towards the Cosmic Realm and the Cosmic Realm's lore. Hornicle's description reveals that ancient legends tell of a cacophony that lasted eons. A cacophony means unpleasant music. Now, how would you go about making a villain in a My Singing Monsters game? A game which revolves around music. I'll tell you the perfect way how to. You make the villain make unpleasant noises, and this perfectly aligns with our villain theory. The villain is the thing behind the cacophony. With us going from this, it would seem as though the Celestials must be unaware of the cosmic realm even themselves, because of them saying literally that it comes from ancient legends. However, to put it more accurately, it would appear Celestials have also had their memories wiped, alike to the monsters, with them not knowing anything about the Golden Age of Dawn of Fire of their past either, once the disruptive force came in. If we look at Tort's description, we can see the cacophony, or better yet, the villain, is referenced, as it informs us how its carapace shields it from the cacophony of the cosmos. Why would it think about shielding itself away if this sound wasn't harmful? If we read Blips's description also, we can see how it details that it is longing for a past it doesn't quite remember. Once again, showing the Celestials have had their memories wiped of their past and of the villain that caused their memory to be wiped. Whilst the Celestials do appear to have their memories wiped, we all do adapt and do things differently to prepare ourselves for danger. It's just natural instinct, isn't it? And Tort appears to be still holding true to an idea instilled within itself, so to speak, from when it had its memories and could recollect from things on the past and from what the monster actually did do to the Celestials, and wiping all the Celestials' memory with it, doing something it did from the past, with it trying to protect itself from the unpleasant sounds in case they come again. Even though it doesn't really remember its past, it's an idea instilled within itself and it's something it's adapted to it, so it would make sense why it's still doing it even though it can't remember the monster itself that caused the cacophony. The fact monsters have had communication with this other realm before having their memories wiped is confirmed by Ludwig's description too, as it reveals the monsters find themselves longing for a place they have never known, yet somehow have known all along, literally, because they did know about it but they forgot. If we put 2 and 2 together and go from all the information we have here, it becomes clear that this thing is capable of causing unpleasant noises and wiping monsters' memories. And so if we put 2 and 2 together, the villain's sounds must be the thing capable of wiping monsters' memories. The Colossals forgot how to sing. How did they forget how to sing? Well, the villain must have made them forget through using their monster sound and have caused the mass destruction to the monster world. While once again, the argument of whether this actually was intentional does come to mind, I would like to bring the conversation back to our previous discussion. Everyone would likely consider the consequences behind doing things before doing things. However, if we look again, we could go down the route of saying that this monster's power could just be uncontrollable. I mean, it's from their monster sound. What are they supposed to do? Just shut up forever? The fact that it is able to cause monsters to forget things in their past, like how it made the Colossals forget how to sing, is likely a feature it just didn't choose to have by itself, and going from that you could perhaps say that it isn't a villain at all. I would also like to bring up that all of the Celestial Monsters' descriptions do also detail other things like some of their origins and their capabilities, but this isn't relevant to our discussion around the cosmic realm and the villain. Basically, all you need to know is that the Celestials have strong powers allowing them to watch over and sometimes control certain aspects of the monster world, and that some Celestials have their origins and how they were born detailed. As mentioned previously though, Galvana's origin was not detailed inside their description, unlike most Celestials. Whether the monster is actually a villain or whether it is just a monster that needs help is really up to debate. The monster has remained dormant for an extremely long period and has not come to the monster world since it caused all the chaos when the continent split. This could mean that it could have become aware of its power and that it could have just chosen to hide away for a long time to avoid causing any more chaos. Anyway, now that we have gone over the villain and explored and revealed their power to make monsters forget things through their monster sound, which can cause ripples of disruption with the continent splitting, for example, once the Colossals forgot how to sing, I think it's important that we delve into the traits behind this villain further. Now that we know that this cosmic realm or world, whatever you want to call it, has a source of energy that is being either reflected to constellations to be reflected down onto the monster world, or alternatively is just wanting to reflect the energy itself, we know that certainly this thing is able to channel and control energy to do what it wants. Also, energy is commonly referenced throughout the monster world, as we are going to get into now. So let's go through everything we know about energy. All things across the monster world have a life force and therefore energy that can be facilitated into certain things. Starhenge ran on the energy from the continent, for example, until the end of the golden age of the Dawn of Fire era, when it ran out and began to use backup power until it ran out and fell as Celestial Island. When the energy ran out, the monsters on top of Starhenge froze into stones until they were reborn, showing that Celestials all require energy to actually survive. The Wubblins also require energy to come to life. Wubbox also required energy to come to life in the monster world. We know that all of the things noted here require energy to survive. We also know that the villain from the cosmic realm is in need of energy therefore too, because of them reflecting energy down from the constellations themselves onto the monster world and Starhenge. Going from how monsters are able to channel their energy like the Celestials, Wubblins, Wubbox, and the villain, it seems that all of these have a certain trait with energy. It would make sense that all of these creatures are linked to one another too. This connection between all of the monsters, what we have just mentioned, that are able to channel energy is also shown when you look at Wubbox's description, where G, V, and WB is revealed to be written by Wubbox in nooks and crannies out of sight, which supports the theory that all the monsters requiring energy are related or linked to one another. As of course, GV and WB literally refers to Galvana and Wubbox, the Celestial Galvana and of course Wubbox that we all know in the original game. We know that the Celestials came from the cosmic realm, as they are all stated to have come from the cosmic realm in Starhenge's description, as they are stated to have come from the stars. However, the exact origin of Wubbox is something that we haven't really delved into. We know that Wubbox did create the Wubblins and that it had the power to create life, alike to Galvana, as it is stated in their description that they too had the power to inspire and create life. However, Wubbox also did come from the cosmic realm, I believe. Too. I think this because if you look at Wubbox's description, it reveals that yes, very little is known of their origin or purpose, but it reveals even further, it even has specialized compartments with an otherworldly shrinking technology. The only world explored in the game's lore is the cosmic world with the villain behind it, and therefore it makes sense that Wubbox comes from the cosmic realm, alike to the Celestials. When the game first launched, there used to be a structure called the Mine, different to the mini-mines that we have today. When these mines were being disbanded by the monsters, Wubbox was found, as the original mines within inside the game were discontinued and they are no longer in the game. So once they were being disbanded, all the monsters did find Wubbox inside of the mine. Going from how it has otherworldly shrinking technology too, it becomes clear that Wubbox and Galvana both came from the cosmic realm and share a bond between one one another. Although the Wobox is disassembled and has no energy when it was found inside the mine, as we see from this image, this just proves our theory all the more. All monsters from the cosmic realm require energy, as we have gone over, so it would make sense why Wobox would be found powered down after being hidden away in the mines for so long, going from how Galvana's description after it has been reborn on Celestial Island reveals that it no longer remembers, unfortunately, anything as a result of how it's lost all of its energy and probably life force. Going from that, you may be wondering how Wobox therefore is able to remember Galvanus, because of how it required energy too to be brought back to life and because of how it ran out of energy. But before we get into that, I would like to just bring up how Galvana could have been capable of aiding the monsters in reviving the Colossal before its rebirth, as it was able to harness the energies of its fellow monsters on Stonehenge through the great power it possessed. So therefore, Galvana would have been able to harness the energy and life force behind the Colossals. However, now on Celestial Island, its description reveals that it no longer remembers anything, as it says how it is blissfully unaware that its very own creations roam the monster world. I'm not sure what its creations are exactly, but from this we can work out that indeed the rebirth of the Celestials has also reset their memories for the most part. Unfortunately, Galvana now literally toys around with its orb that it has, that gives it its power, and isn't aware of how to harness its power, so that means Galvana can't help us whatsoever, and that therefore we do indeed need the villain behind it all to get involved so Colossal's power can actually be harnessed, because Galvana can't harness its energy anymore through its orb, and therefore can't harness the energy inside the Colossals instilled within them to bring them back to life. If you are questioning how the power behind Galvana and Wobox and all of the supernaturals and the energy that we are talking about actually relates to the Colossals, well, the description for Wobox actually confirms that the Colossals' life force and their energy is linked to the energy alike to Wobox and Galvana. So that is why Galvana would have been keen into harnessing the power of the Colossals, but like I've said, now they are literally just unaware of everything and they can't harness the power anymore, so it would actually be a case of needing the Cosmic Realm monster to come along to harness the power, because they would likely be able to actually do it. Anyway, back to the topic behind why Wobox can still remember Galvana. If Wobox can still remember Galvana as it existed from Stonehenge, it must have not yet had its memories wiped. We know that so far the villain behind the Cosmic Realm is able to cause monsters to forget their memories and pass by causing its cacophony, in other words its unpleasant sound, and that monsters being reborn can have their memories wiped, also as seen with Galvana on Celestial Island. Rather than being found as stone, Wobox is found disassembled and, in other words, turned off. Sure, it needed a bit of power to be turned back on, but this makes sense. Literally just think about it like a plug. Oh, you need a bit of power to turn something on. It's not like it's dead, it doesn't need reviving like the Celestials did, it just needed turning back on. It even says power up in game, so that just literally cements it even further as idea. The Celestials too are shown to need to be revived, so literally they are reborn, that's why they don't remember anything, and the Wobblins are first created, that's why you wake them up for the first time, because they have never been alive before, so that's why you wake them up. And also, if we look at the Wobblins in that regard, we can also go ahead to the Fire Oasis and Wobblin Island Colossals, which we were looking at before, which haven't actually had a life force, so to speak, yet, in terms of the game's lore, and we could go ahead and probably say from the fact that Wobblins are able to be woken up in the first place and given life, that it's quite likely that the Colossals behind Wobblin Island and therefore Fire Oasis would be able to be awoken through using this kind of power that the Wobblins were given. The whole idea behind Wobox being turned back on and not actually being revived or woken up for the first time, and it actually being alive before, explains why Wobox would have kept its memories, as it was literally just powered down for the time being, unlike the other Celestials. As for the other Celestials, other than Galvana, you may be wondering why we haven't necessarily discussed them. While the Celestials do have origins related to the Cosmic Realm, as revealed from the Stonehenge description, some of them do not necessarily originate from the Cosmic Realm itself, perhaps like to Galvana. Some of them don't, with Thernos originating from the Living Core, for example, and Plixie originating from the beginning of time. In comparison to the other Celestials, it becomes clear that Galvana appears to have originated from the Cosmic Realm, especially with their leadership capabilities as revealed in their description, so that is why I've left them out of the discussion the rest of the Celestials. Galvana's origin isn't noted anywhere in their description, unlike the other Celestials. What I think is really important to point out is the symbols that both Galvana and Wobox have too, and I think that we may even be able to draw a connection between the Cosmic Realm, where the villain is from, and the monster world if we take a look, as this symbol appears in a lot of places. We know that Galvana and Wobox have the symbol and they originated from the Cosmic Realm. The symbol has been noted to have just been a symbol located across the monster world in different places by the monster handlers before, but the connection to the cosmic realm and the symbol is just literally too much to not notice. A floating rock appears around Stonehenge and it has the symbol, for instance. Galvana and the Celestials all came from the cosmic realm, so that would make sense why the symbol floats around Stonehenge, as the monsters on top of it originate from the cosmic realm. The symbol isn't just any symbol, guys. It's the symbol behind the cosmic realm. It's clear why it's just been recorded as a symbol throughout time, throughout the monster world. It's because no one knew about the cosmic realm. The monster handlers wouldn't have been able to contact the monsters and ask them about the actual symbol. Sure, they'd just go, it's a symbol from the monster world, because they've had their memories wiped, guys. They're not going to have a clue about what this symbol is, are they? They've been affected by the cacophony, guys. So unfortunately, they aren't going to have a clue about it. So that makes sense why the monsters and the monster handlers literally don't have an idea what this symbol is, and they just go, it's a symbol across the monster world. While the monsters, as revealed by Ludwig's description, may have forgotten about the cosmic realm due to the villain likely accidentally using its powers to make monsters forget their past, the monsters all did originate from the cosmic realm, and this explains why the symbol is here. The symbol is also shown on the Wonder Mine and when Celestials are first born. The Celestials come from the cosmic realm, so it makes sense as to why it appears when you try to unlock them as well. Even when you get Celestials, they come tumbling down from the stars above, as shown by the asteroids that come hurtling down when you get them. Once again confirming that they come from another world besides the monster world where the villain is from. As for the Wonder Mine though, well, it's unclear why the symbol is exactly on there, what connection it has to the cosmic realm, so I have no idea why this has the symbol though, but the other things definitely do have something related to the cosmic realm, and that's why the symbol is on them, so it's quite likely that the Wonder Mine just is related to the cosmic realm itself. So now we know about the symbol behind the cosmic realm, how Wurbox and Galvana and the Celestials came from it, how the villain has the power to make monsters forget things. It raises some questions. So first up, is the monster from the cosmic realm actually a villain? Well, it's unclear if they actually are a villain. All we can work out is that their sound and their cacophony causes monsters to forget their memories, and that they were the ones behind the disruption and the Colossals forgetting how to sing. The monsters from the cosmic realm causing the Colossals to forget how to sing explains why monsters like Kena forgot their past, as revealed in the Firehaven trailer 2, as the villain likely just literally used their monster sound and then they just forgot everything. And it's likely that their cacophony was expelled throughout the monster world, causing the monsters and the Colossals to forget certain things during the disruption, when the supposed destructive force, or in other words, the monster sound from the monster from the cosmic realm, actually inflicted its damage across the universe of My Singing Monsters. The Colossals forgetting how to sing likely caused a chain reaction with the continent split in two, I would say. That part is a little unclear to me. The disruptive force mentioned in the lore was not so much a disruptive force, but the powerful sound of the monster from the cosmic realm too, as we've gone over. Going from all that, I don't believe that the villain is actually, truly, a villain. I think they just need guidance. I mean, in terms of the monsters, they probably do seem like a villainous creature to them because of how they've made them forget the past so many times and everything. And honestly, I can see why that would be the case in that regard, and that's why I would consider it still to be a villain, even though it's not necessarily a villain. I think it's just something that needs guidance at this point. I think the perfect solution for the game would be for Wurbox, who still has their memories, to help the monsters find the cosmic world outside of the monster world, and for the monsters to assist them, because it's quite likely that Wurbox may actually know where they are because they have not forgotten everything like Galvana or anyone. Anyway, so how would the monsters assist the monster from the cosmic realm then? As said, I think Wurbox should help the monsters find the monster from the cosmic realm. So that the monsters don't forget anything, they should probably bring cave tablets and drawings with them so that they are able to remember what they went up there for. Otherwise, the monster could literally just cause a cacophony again and cause unpleasant noises, and then everyone would just forget why they were even there. Then the monsters should tell the monster to use instruments rather than using its voice, I believe. This would stop the monsters from forgetting anything and allow the monsters and other monsters to live together, even if it's using an instrument and that is what the cacophony actually is. It works vice versa, guys. You know, get it to sing rather than using its instrument, or get it to use instruments rather than singing. I think it would make sense if it was more vocalist though, and that's why I'm saying it makes sense to make them have instruments too, especially when you consider the idea that I'm about to propose to you guys for how this could be added to the game. I really believe that this would be the best way to go about it. Another question is, what happened to the villain exactly? We know it shares a relationship with Galvana and Wurbox, but we don't know what happened to it. Now, it could either be dormant, dormant or hiding away. I think the best option would be to have it dormant and powered off in the game, as otherwise it wouldn't really work out. I think the monster is important to our understanding behind the lore and its lore, and I think having it turned into a statue when it's greeted so that it has to be revived again and brought to life like the Wobblins and Celestials would just be tragic, guys. This thing has already been through enough. It's been alone and isolated for so long since Dawn of Fire, years upon years. So what I think should actually happen is I think we should just be able to power it up and it should actually remember everything. We don't want to put it through even more tragicness. We don't want it, guys. This poor creature. Let's just let it have something, okay? So therefore, I think it should just be powered off when found in the game, so that the lore behind the game could be questioned about to the monster too, and so that it's not put through any more tragedy, because I honestly think this thing's been through enough tragedy, guys, as is. By having the monster turned off rather than a statue, the game could have you put eggs inside of it to power it up. Now, whilst this would be different to Roblox, I think this would work out better, and I don't think they'd be able to just do it by putting monsters in, because that would require a large amount of monsters, but they could. Honestly, who knows? But again, I definitely think the idea of it powering up should remain. I think seeing as the monster was able to cause such big events in the game too, that it would only make sense to have the monster as a huge creature on the island that is found on the Cosmic Island or world, whatever you want to call it. I think it should be actually called Cosmic World in the game to define how it's different to the other islands if it actually were to be added to the game. Seeing as though the monsters are teaching it how to use instruments, I think there should be separate parts to the monster too that require eggs to be turned on in the game. This would be really cool, so perhaps the bottom half of the monster could wake it up and then it could tap its legs or something and contribute to the island song. I think that would just be an amazing feature, guys, and honestly, if they really do implement this villain-esque idea, I think it would just completely change the game. It would honestly just completely change the perspective behind the game. Having a monster capable of wiping memories and things, oh god, that would just be so insane, guys. It would explain so much as well as we've gone over it. This would be an awesome feature to the game and would really mix things up and add an entirely new mechanic to the game, whilst also using existing mechanics that we've seen with the Wobblins and Celestials. It would be really cool to have the monster take up the center of the island with breedable monsters around it that originally helped to find the monster within the trailer or whatever, for example. Sort of like Tribal Island structure with the big Cosmic Realm monster taking up the mushroom area with monsters being able to be placed around it, and then the actual Cosmic monster being able to be powered on individually in certain parts within the game. And finally, we have our last question. Going back to the last part, how would we then be able to revive the Colossals? Well, we know Galvana would have been able to harness the life energy of the Colossals as with Beanover, but they don't remember anymore how to do that, so it would be up to the monster in the Cosmic Realm to actually do it. We know that they were able to release cosmic energies, so it's clear that they too are able to harness energy, due to how they were able to harness energy from constellations down onto the monster world. So therefore, this Cosmic Realm monster would first have to revive the Colossals through harnessing their energy to revive them. Then they would have to reverse the effects of their singing and how it caused the Colossals to forget how to sing in the first place. To do this, I think it would be a simple case of them singing in reverse. Literally, guys, I think that's all it would take. Of course, this wouldn't be exactly what you would see in game, but that would be perhaps what would happen in terms of the lore. It would be too complicated to actually do that in the game, like having the Cosmic Realm monster just suddenly appear on your screen and go, oh, you're back to life now. So that it could work in game, though, I think that you should just be able to hear the Cosmic Realm monster just singing backwards as the island Colossals do awaken, and I think the actual Cosmic Realm monster should actually be turned on fully, with all of its components fully turned on before the Colossals are able to be revived. Alright then, guys. That is all for today. Jesus, that was a long one, wasn't it? So I know you guys as well are probably thinking perhaps that there may be some loose ends in terms of the theory that I have proposed to you all today, and that is obviously going to be the case, guys. Like, not all theories are always perfect, guys. I thought the symbol and everything and how it all connected in terms of the lore and the cacophony and the reference to it and the Cosmic Realm above, that all was pretty interesting to me, and it is certainly something that I would like to see added to the actual lore behind the game, and it just comes to show just how big the lore could actually get for My Singing Monsters if they chose to do something like this. As we saw with the Fire Elementals, they had a lot of lore behind them, and lots of people really liked them, and I think it would be the same case if they added more lore to the game in terms of the Dawn of Fire era and things, and just twisting it up, mixing things around. I think they could get a lot out of it, and I believe that they could make something truly special. But again, we'll have to see what they do. know. Again, though, this is just a theory, guys. Like, it's a theory. You can add on to it what you want. Like, honestly, I had the idea that perhaps it could be a missing celestial. I never even discussed that. I thought that there wasn't any evidence perhaps towards it, so I chose not to actually go into that. But perhaps there's a cosmic realm celestial with how that floats around, and the monster behind the disruptive force and the thing behind the cacophony and what it can do with its monster sound, perhaps that was actually one of its abilities. I mean, we know the Celestials do have individual abilities, but I just couldn't find enough evidence to really support that theory. So I chose not to mention it, but although thinking about it, like, if there was actually a Celestial, that would add a lot to the lore as well. So that would have been cool. As well, though, I just want to say, the thumbnail was made by LikeOAd666, even though it won't focus, on Instagram. So please go and follow them. They make tons of cool stuff. The Evil Wubbox and the thumbnail was by them, so definitely go and check them out. I know the thumbnail may have been a bit misleading. I always try and make my thumbnails in accordance to the actual video and what we're going on about and what we're discussing, but the Evil Wubbox in the thumbnail was literally the only thing that I could use because, unfortunately, there's not much evidence towards what the monster may actually look like that is the villain that made the monsters forget all the memories in the first place. So I hope you guys understand that I chose to actually just use Evil Wubbox because there was nothing to base it off and it would have been weird otherwise. So yeah, I hope you guys understand. Anyway, that is all for today, guys. I will see you in the next video. As always, I can't believe this is 40 minutes long. Jesus. Oh, guys, I love you all. If you got to the end, make sure to comment hashtag MPG Megafan down below. I would be very pleased if any of you got to the end of this. I know it was a bit scripted, and I apologize if you found it a bit scripted. Obviously, it had to be, though, because this is a theory, of course. So I hope you all understand. I will see you in the next one anyway. As I've said, bye!